Day one of the convention, and we've already seen some controversy, as we mentioned off the top. Andrew's live now in Cleveland with more. Andrew?
Well, Rich, as we told you, there was that fight on the convention floor earlier about the Dump Trump movement, and it seems as though that is the last moments of the Dump Trump movement. We will see how that plays out as we're going forward. Now, as the convention kicks off, we wanted to reach out, and we spoke a little bit earlier with New York State Republican Chairman Ed Cox for a couple of different reasons. As you and I know, at the beginning of the primary season, nobody was going to confuse Ed Cox for a Donald Trump supporter. But he has changed his tune, particularly after the overwhelming victory by Donald Trump in the New York State primary back in April. I also wanted to talk to Ed Cox about the VP pick, Mike Pence, how he'll play moving the party and the ticket further to the right in a blue state like New York, and of course the New Jersey area as well, where the Trump campaign is hoping to be competitive, and whether Pence makes him a little bit less competitive. And one last reason to talk to Ed Cox: he's the son-in-law of a former president, Richard Nixon. And with Melania Trump addressing the convention tonight and Donald Trump relying more on family members to sort of show character arguments for his campaign, well, I wanted to get his perspective on all those points and more as I talked with Ed Cox a little bit earlier. Thanks for a few minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Well, good to be with you again, Andrew. Yeah, this is my 8th convention. My first one was 1968. I was a senior in college, and I've been going out with Tricia for 5 years, and I was with the Nixon family watching the whole convention behind the scenes.
This is a unique convention by any measure. Let's start with Donald Trump. What do you think he needs to do this week? Does he need to unify the Republican Party or reach out using the national spotlight he'll have at this convention to appeal to undecided voters?
Oh, you're right. This is a unique convention because it's a unique candidate. He came from nothing, never having run for office before, and now he's the nominee of the Republican Party. What he has to do is both. He has to unite the party, but that's happening. The party is really united in form, for the most part, a lot in spirit. With his acceptance speech, he has to not only unite it in spirit, but tell the American people that he, the Republican Party, and the Republicans in the House and Senate are ready to govern.
One of the big announcements that came last week was Governor Mike Pence of Indiana as the vice presidential nominee. He, of course, a conservative, something of an evangelical. That will help unite the people here in this room today. But won't he make it more difficult for Donald Trump to win in New York or win other states that he's trying to poach?
Well, he went out and proved he wasn't just another congressman, but he won in a state that in 2008, Barack Obama won, Indiana. It's been represented by a Democratic senator for a long period of time, and he had to win all of Indiana. No. Mike Pence is a very good man. He's good on policy, very solid on it. A Jack Kemp policy wonk. And that is really very important. He, like Paul Ryan, he's interested in what can we do to turn America around and get it going in the right direction.
But you and I both know Mike Pence on the ticket is going to make abortion an issue in this race, is going to make gay rights an issue in this race. Neither one is an issue that plays particularly well for the conservative standpoint in New York. And Donald Trump wants to win his home state.
As you know very well, in Westchester, where the county exec is a conservative on the social issues, yet he won the county exec in one of the most liberal socially counties in the United States, and yet he won. I expect Mike Pence, he's handled this issue time and time again, and the people of America are concerned about work, good jobs, making America respected again abroad. On those issues, that's what he'll win on.
Let's talk a little bit about party unity. We know the number of senators who aren't here. Jack Martin's, your candidate for the 3rd District on Long Island, isn't here. Your candidates in the 18th and 19th districts are not here. Are you concerned because they're concerned about wanting to be here?
No, they're concerned about being elected to Congress in their district, and in order to show respect for the citizens of their congressional district where they're campaigning, they're saying, I'm going to stay with you rather than going to the convention. Donald Trump will actually be helpful to Jack Martin's in that 3rd congressional district. So logically should be here for that, but from the point of view of showing respect for his future constituents, he's staying in that congressional district campaigning.
Is that
I would never question you, but is that the spin view on it? Because we know a lot of members of Congress, a lot of senators have said, well, I've got other things to do. Even the governor of Ohio isn't at the convention.
Andrew, it happens in every convention. You get the same thing. People saying no. It's a way of showing respect, particularly when they're up for re-election or election. They stay in their district to show respect for the people in their state or their district or whatever. That's just part of it. It's been done in every convention I've been to.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, you're the son-in-law of a former president. The current nominee for your party is going to have most of his family as a participant in this convention in a way that we really haven't seen before, in a way that even you and Tricia didn't do during your father-in-law's runs for the White House. What does that tell you about Donald Trump, that his family or the people that he's leaning on for support and for people to sort of give recommendations for voters?
I think it's very important that he do it because he's very unique. He was a businessman who's running for office for the first time, and American people really don't know him that well. So by showing his family and having them speak and talk about themselves, about the family, they will in fact get to know him a lot better and know why he should be president of the United States. It's a unique presentations to deal with a unique situation politically.
You know, Mr. Chairman, until the primary, you went out of your way to not be aligned with any one candidate. You really sound like a Trump fan as we're talking today.
Well, actually, we're Trump fans a lot, but here is the issue. No one at the state level in the state party, even the Trump people, did not endorse him because we wanted to have a wide open primary. And when he won it, he asked me to endorse him before it. I said, I can't do it because our rule is we're not going to do it. Now he's grateful for it because he won with more than 60%. And no one could say it was rigged because the state chair endorsed him and rigged it for him, and the state party endorsed him and rigged it for him. So it works out. In the end, it worked out very well for him.
First state party chairman to endorse Donald Trump.
That's
right here, Ed
exactly.
Cox, and quite a cheerleader for his party. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for a few minutes.
Good to be with you, Andrew.
Ed Cox and the rest of the New York delegation will be front and center in front of the podium tonight, where the expected speakers include Melania Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and actor Scott Baio. We'll have that in the evening session as it approaches tonight. That's the latest from here in Cleveland. Rich, let's send it back to you in the studio.
Yeah, you heard Andrew right. Chachi is on the a headliner. And Andrew, I'm sorry, I need a shovel there for what I heard from Cox, that he was a Trump guy. He sat at the table I am right now and said, no way he's going to win. No chance, no how, no way that Trump was going to win. To talk about holding your nose and getting behind Trump right now, that's the definition of Cox. And so many other people, it's as much of a story who's not there as who is, and it's not typical of every convention, is it?
No, absolutely not. And Cox not just, here with a shovel, he's here with pom-poms. Look, there are deep divisions within this convention, not just the people who aren't here, but we saw the floor fight before about the push to try to dump Trump. I'd say this convention is probably about 55 to 60% pro-Trump, the rest against. That's pales in comparison to what we saw at previous conventions. More drama in just an hour here on the floor earlier than we saw in the entire 4 days in Tampa 4 years ago. Rich?
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Now, I want to bring in our panel right now. Michael Tobman, independent political consultant, good friend to the program, and Dominic Carter, of course, political journalist and author. All right, guys, the poll numbers, when you look at the aggregates, show her up, Hillary, that is, 4 to 5 points right now over Trump. And people believe that's a real number. She's also doing better in almost every swing state that's out there as we speak. Still early, still a lot of things could change, but nonetheless, if we're going to look here for one thing that jumped out, is it the discord we saw right on the floor that he's got a problem with within his own party, the people that won't show up for this thing here tonight, and we'll talk about the VP a little bit later on in the program, but just how it really seems to be a campaign in flux right now at a convention when usually this is where you try and get the bump of 2 or 3 points here with everybody singing the same song.
It's an interesting thing to say because they're there to nominate Trump. He's not just the presumptive nominee. Very shortly, he'll be the nominee right after Scott Baio does what he does tonight. This is not about Trump, and the campaign is not going to be about Trump. I believe he is a deeply flawed candidate. I believe as a brand, he's flawed beginning, middle, and end. He always has been. A lot of us got this wrong because it's not about Trump. It's about the forces and the people and the sentiment and the dynamic propping him up, and behind him. So that the convention is split, as Andrew said, and I absolutely agree with him, 60-40 or 55-40. That's not the point. The point isn't who's there. The point isn't who's not there. The point isn't party chairs who were opposed to him and now feel the need to come along. It's about everyone who feels disaffected and those propping up Trump and those who will be supporting him who feel that civic life, culture, the economy, politics has passed them by. Those are the people that are actually about that this is about.
And we always know, Dominic, you got the two groups that are going to vote one way or the other no matter what. But the one thing I think in the next 4 days he's got to prove is that he's competent and he's got the temperament. And I say that because the guy who wrote, or supposedly co-wrote, but came out today in a New Yorker piece and says, Trump didn't write any part of the art of the deal. I wrote the whole thing.
And that's not a big deal.
And he goes, but he goes, by the way, he said, if I ever thought in a million years this guy could have been remotely considered, let alone a nominee for president, I never would have done it. He said, I have a 2-year-old grandson who has more ability to focus than Trump does. He's not smart, and he can't do anything remotely in terms of just concentrating on a particular issue. I mean, the most damning thing you've ever heard, the idea of launch codes, he'll destroy the planet. I know it's one writer, but nonetheless, everything we've seen, Dominic, shows this guy better have a good 4 days. This thing's got to work here because a lot of people say, even if I don't like Hillary, I don't know if I can trust this guy. I don't know what he's going to do.
Well, he's known for putting on a good show, and that's what a convention is all about, a good show. What we saw a little while ago amounts to nothing. That was a minor floor fight, but it'll make the headlines tomorrow, but it's not a big deal. I agree with your point. What this is about is the folks that are dissatisfied with the political process. And so one thing I'm watching for tonight, Richard, because the only thing that counts in this convention, in any convention basically, is the 10 to 11 o'clock hour when it's hot on the networks. How does his wife do? How does Giuliani do? Giuliani will do well, but will Rudy go too far in light of what's been happening in a very tragic situation, as you pointed out, with the police? But I just want to say this as well. Here's what I'm looking for tonight. When Trump comes out to introduce his wife, I pray for his sake that he's on prompter, because he's got to stop this ad-lib stuff where he thinks that he's so intelligent and he sounds... It sounds like on Saturday,
but he hogs the spotlight every time, like Pence.
It was supposed to be about Pence, and Trump went on without the teleprompter
well, that's
for 30
the perfect
minutes.
segue, because when we come back on the other side, guys, we're going to talk about not just the choice of Pence, but also how the whole process went down. If you like this stuff, and you probably do because you're watching this show, it was the most surreal 72, 96 hours. It was like a game of Survivor, Bachelorette, whatever you want to call it here. I still don't even know if Trump got the guy he wanted, but at the end of the day here, what it says about him, I think will be fascinating. Stay with us, everybody. We'll have much more on that after this.